I'm over it. I'm over the term. If there is a term that is more saturated, more overused, and no longer means what it was originally supposed to, it is the word gentleman. Now, before I dive any deeper into this, know that I have a few friends who have entire websites that are dedicated to being gentlemen. We've actually had this conversation before. By no means am I saying that my friends who do this stuff typify the problem that I see when I hear the average guy use the word gentleman, because these guys, I'm friends with them for a reason and they don't represent this problem at all. So these guys aside, before you think I'm starting any blogger feuds or anything like that, because I'm not. The problem with the word gentleman is that it doesn't mean what it used to mean. It doesn't. It is such a convoluted term that has taken on such a weird, unique meaning from what it was originally intended to be that I don't even want to use it anymore. We're so far away from what originally intended that we can't bring it back. It's way over here. It's kind of like the word decimated. You ever thought about what the word decimated means? It actually means completely removing 1/10 of something. And so it goes back, there's a Roman tradition to it as far as the army or a certain unit within the army would be decimated. They would have 1/10 of their unit destroyed as a punishment for certain negative behaviors. But when we hear the word decimated, we don't think, well, 1/10 of that lifespan has been ruined. We just think that it's been destroyed. Now, gentleman is like that. It's got its roots in something that actually was very specific, and now it means something totally different. And I have no interest in going over the technical argument. I've seen this argument before where you have men who will say, well, of course, gentleman doesn't apply because it was a knight's code and it was based on chivalry, which only applied to how the upper class treated the law. Doesn't matter. To me, that's as stupid as trying to get around hunting when it comes to the Second Amendment. That's not the principle. That's just some weird technicality. The principle was always based on two different things. You had strong, dominant, shape the world in their image men who would be genteel and be kind and benevolent and wouldn't do that at their every whim because they were good and moral men. That is what it used to mean to be a gentleman as far as the principle or the root of the concept. The problem now is that most guys, when they say that they want to be a gentleman, they are not men. They're not. They are not strong. They don't shape the world in their image. They use this idea of I'm gentle and I'm weak as some sort of moral superiority. And I know that I sound a little bit emotional when I say this because I do. I just get so irritated when I see this over and over and over again. And I see it on Twitter, on Facebook, in different men's groups that I'm part of. And the men who throw around the term gentleman the most cavalierly are the ones who have no business using the term because they are not men. There's no strength to them. They hide their cowardice and their weakness behind terms like politeness and niceness and think that somehow that makes them morally superior to the brutes who decide that they're going to tromp through like bulls in china shops and do whatever it is that they want. And honestly, I have more respect for a brute than for a double-twisting coward. So if you think about it, if you're nice to somebody, if you defer to them, if you're kind to them and you're gentle, but you don't do it from a position of strength, you don't do it out of anything other than you're afraid of offending them or you're afraid of hurting their feelings, that's not being polite. That's not being a good person. That's just being a coward. If you don't engage in any sort of violence because you have neither the disposition nor the ability to do so, you're not a stronger person. You're a wimp and a weakling. You're not more moral than the men who do violence on your behalf. You're a coward. And if you let your wife or your girlfriend or your children or your friends or your family walk all over you, treat you like garbage, and do whatever it is that they want, and you constantly defer to them and you constantly try to please them, you're not a leader servant, you're not a good man, you're a doormat. And it's always these men who decide that they are going to, I'm a gentleman. A real man would never do this, or a gentleman would never do that. Cut it out. You know what? Just stop using the term because I no longer want anything to do with it. I have no desire to be a gentleman. My desire is to be a moral man. I don't want to be nice. I want to be good. I don't want to be gentle. I want to be meek, which is power controlled. Because if you don't have that power, then there's no morality in not controlling it. It only works, and it's only a compliment to you, the person doing it, if you are actually reining in a strength and a dominance that's part of you. If you don't have that there at all, stop giving yourself credit for being weak and thinking that that somehow makes you moral. It doesn't. The only way that this works, on top of having the ability to do things and then reining in that ability, the other thing that you have to factor in is that you have to take both the responsibilities and the rights and the authority that comes with that. Because there's one type of person who has all the responsibility in the world and none of the rights. That's a slave. So if you want to be a slave to everybody else around you, if you want to be a slave to your wife, to your children, to your girlfriend, to your boss, to your friends, to everybody else around you, then go ahead and try to convince yourself that it's gentlemanly. But it's not. It's just slavery disguised as morality. Now, on the other hand, you can't go too far the other direction because you know who has all the rights and all the privileges without any of the responsibility? Children. And you as a grown adult male have no business acting like a child. And that's the big problem with my generation. Everybody wants all the rights and all the privileges without any of the responsibility because we're a bunch of children. If you want to be a moral man, then you have to take both the power to do damage and to build and to do anything that you can do, as much power, and then you control it for good, moral, ethical purposes. If you don't have the power, you're not a moral man. You're not a man. And if you don't have the ethical reasoning behind it, the moral channeling of that power, then you're just a brute. But don't try and convince yourself, and certainly stop trying to convince me or anybody else around you that somehow you're better because of your weakness, because you're not. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I cannot wait to hear what you guys have to say in the comments below from both you guys who agree with me and those of you guys who are not going to like this video. So sound off, leave me a thumbs up if you like it, and I will catch you on the next one.